George Eastman was born in 1854 in a small town in the United States. He grew up in a family that did not have much money, but from an early age, George showed a strong interest in learning. His parents were hard workers, but they didn't have a lot of extra money. Despite this, George was determined to make something of himself. As a young boy, he was always curious about how things worked and was interested in trying to solve problems. This curiosity would lead him to make an incredible change in the world of photography. At that time, photography was very different from the way we know it today. Cameras were large, expensive, and complicated. Only professional photographers or very rich people could afford to take photographs. The process of taking a photograph was not as simple as it is now. People had to use large, heavy cameras that needed to be placed on tripods. After taking a photo, the film needed to be developed in a dark room. This dark room was a special room where photographers could process the film and print the pictures. It was not something that ordinary people could do at home. George Eastman thought about all of this and decided to find a way to make photography easier and more accessible. He wanted to change the way people saw photography. Eastman believed that everyone should be able to take photos, not just rich people or professional photographers. In those days, photography was mostly for special events, or for people who had a lot of money to spend. George thought it was time to make photography a part of everyday life for everyone. At the age of 24, George Eastman began working on his idea for a better camera. He wanted to create something that was simple to use, small enough to carry, and affordable for regular people. Most importantly, he wanted people to be able to take photos without needing special skills or expensive equipment. This was the start of something big. In 1888, George Eastman introduced his first Kodak camera. It was small, lightweight, and very easy to use. The camera came with a roll of film, and people did not need to develop their own pictures. After taking photos with the Kodak camera, people simply sent the film to Eastman's company, and the company developed the photos for them. This was a revolutionary idea. Before the Kodak camera, if someone wanted to take a photograph, they needed to go to a professional photographer. But with the Kodak, anyone could take their own pictures, no matter where they were or what they were doing. It was affordable and easy to use, which made it very popular. The Kodak camera was a huge success. For the first time in history, regular people could take their own pictures without needing to know how to develop film. All they needed to do was load the camera with film, take the photos, and send the film to the Kodak company to be developed. When the pictures were ready, the company sent them back to the customer. This made photography available to millions of people around the world. Families, friends, and ordinary people could now capture memories of their everyday lives. They could take pictures of birthdays, holidays, vacations, and many other special moments. George Eastman's company, the Eastman Kodak Company, grew quickly. The company began to sell not only cameras but also film, paper, and other products that were necessary for photography. Eastman's vision had become a reality. Photography was no longer just for rich people or professionals, it was now something that everyone could enjoy. People could now take photographs of their lives, share them with others, and keep those memories for many years. This was a big change, and Eastman played a huge role in making it happen. Eastman was very proud of the success of his company, but he was not only focused on making money. He also cared deeply about helping others. He believed that successful people should give back to their communities and help make the world a better place. Over the years, George Eastman made many generous donations to schools, hospitals, and other important causes. He was especially focused on education. Eastman understood that learning and knowledge could help improve people's lives, and he wanted to support organizations that helped teach people. One of his most famous donations was to the University of Rochester in New York. Eastman gave a large sum of money to the university, which allowed it to expand and improve. This donation helped many students receive a better education. In fact, the university's Eastman School of Music and the Eastman Museum of Photography were both named after George Eastman in recognition of his contributions. His support of education helped many people reach their potential and achieve their dreams. As Eastman's company grew, he continued to work on improving the Kodak camera and other products. He listened to his customers and made changes to the cameras based on their feedback. He wanted to make photography as easy as possible for everyone, and he kept looking for ways to improve his products. He also worked hard to make his company better, which allowed Kodak to become a leader in the photography industry. By the early 20th century, the Kodak camera had become a household name. Many people owned Kodak cameras, and photography was becoming more and more popular. People used their cameras to take pictures of their families, friends, pets, and even the things they saw on the street. Photography was no longer just for the rich or for professional photographers. It was now something that everyone could enjoy. But as time passed, photography technology continued to improve. Kodak stayed at the forefront of these changes, introducing new and better cameras, films, and photographic products. However, as the world began to change even more with the invention of digital cameras in the late 20th century, the photography industry started to shift. Kodak faced challenges from new technology and changing consumer habits. Despite this, George Eastman's contributions to photography were still remembered, and his work continued to have a lasting impact on the world. In 1932, George Eastman passed away, but his legacy lived on. His company, the Eastman Kodak Company, continued to be a major player in the photography industry for many years after his death. Even though the world of photography had changed with the rise of digital cameras and smartphones, Eastman's vision of making photography accessible to everyone had become a reality. Today, millions of people all over the world take photographs, whether it is with a camera, a smartphone, or other devices. And they still owe much of this to the work and vision of George Eastman. George Eastman's story is one of vision, hard work, and innovation. He was not only a successful businessman, but also a man who wanted to make the world a better place. Through his inventions and ideas, he made it possible for ordinary people to capture memories and share them with others. His impact on photography is still felt today, and his legacy continues to inspire people to use photography as a way to preserve important moments in their lives. Without George Eastman, photography might not be as important or accessible as it is today.